A colonel sneered at her in front of everyone. 10 minutes later, sirens. 1 hour later, the base held its breath. She gripped a broken watch, an empty wallet, and the wheel of a bomb truck. What happened next? Nobody forgot. They told Sarah Watson the road to Jericho base was paved. It wasn't. It was a dusty ribbon, chalky and thin, the kind that clings to your boots and your lungs and your mood. She stepped off the bus with a canvas duffel and a steady face. Her watch had a spiderweb crack across the glass. The minute hand stuck at 12:07, then twitched. It had done that since Kandahar. She kept it anyway. It made time honest. The gate guards eyed her name tape. Watson, Captain. They waved her through with 2 fingers and a smirk. The motor pool smelled like old gasoline and dented pride. Engines lined up like sleeping cattle. A private tried not to stare at her. Failed. "Ma'am," he said, voice off key. "Welcome to Jericho." She found her quarters. A bed like a folded map, a desk with 2 scratch marks, a window that faced nothing but fence. She unpacked in silence. Socks, 2 books, MRE coffee packs because hope needs help. At the bottom of the bag, her father's watch. She touched the chip in the glass. "Time works if you do," he used to say. On the table lay a base map printed wrong. North was a rumor. She flipped it over. On the back, someone had drawn a smiley face with angry eyebrows. She smiled back. Then she checked her wallet. Empty. She'd used the last of her cash buying the bus ticket for a private she didn't know. He'd been stuck outside Bragg after a funeral. His hands shook. She didn't ask why. She'd just paid. Now the wallet looked like a hollow rib cage. It felt right. It felt like a promise. At 0600, the parade ground pulsed. Boots, breath, orders turning into steam. Colonel Marcus Drake approached like a cold front. Tall, neat, eyes that measured and subtracted. "Captain Watson," he said. He didn't take her hand. He measured her collar brass like it might lie. "You came from fire bases and fantasies. We do things by the book here." He looked past her at the formation. He let the silence walk all over her. Then he smiled for the audience. "Tell me, Captain, which end of a convoy is the safest?" She could have said none. She could have said, "The one you're not in." She said, "The end you've trained the most." He laughed. Not with her, at her. It slid across the asphalt. A few sergeants smiled without using their eyes. He leaned in, lower voice. "Don't break anything, Watson. Especially my patience." She looked at the cracked watch. 12:07 twitched. "Time's already broken, sir," she said very gently. By noon, she was assigned to Logistics Bravo, which meant everything that moved did so because she told it to. Or didn't. Her office was a shed with a door that stuck. Inside, clipboards, maps. A calendar with a picture of a lake that didn't exist here. Sergeant Lena Park waited with a stack of maintenance reports and a face that had seen too many sunrises at 4. "You're the new answer?" Park asked. "I'm the new try," Sarah said. They walked the lot. The trucks wore forensics, scratches, bolted fixes. A tire with a scar like a smile. Sarah ran fingers along fenders and mirrors. She listened to engines breathe. She smelled burnt something on truck 23. Not oil. Not coolant. Something that shouldn't be there. "Carbon scoring near the relay," she said. Park nodded slowly. "You wrench?" "I listen," Sarah said. At 16:30, the colonel set a demonstration for visitors. A convoy drill at dusk, non-negotiable. "Captain Watson will lead," he announced again for the crowd. "She says time is broken. We'll see if she can fix a schedule," murmurs. Heads turned. Park's jaw set. In the ready bay, radios crackled like nervous laughter. Sarah laid the route on the hood of a Humvee. Dust floated. "We thread Omega route," she said. 2 danger funnels. 1 choke before the culvert. We keep intervals clean. If comms glitch, we switch to light signals pre-briefed. If we lose 2 trucks, we do not play hero. We limp home as 1. "Colonel wants a show," a lieutenant said. "We'll give him safety," Sarah answered. She checked her watch. 12:07, twitch. She didn't reset it. She never did. She set her jaw instead. Park caught her eye. "You good?" "Good enough." They rolled out just after sunset. Headlights off. Night vision bloom. The road reached out like a thin arm into nowhere. Dust rose. It tasted like old paper. At mile 3, the first radio hiccuped. At mile 5, the net went quiet. "Dead quiet," Sarah signaled. "Fist, open hand." Red beams dipped. Convoy adjusted like a zipper. They moved as one breath. At mile 7, something flashed in the culvert. A spark. No, a lens. No, a... She opened her mouth to warn, and the world in front of Truck 23 erupted white. They said it was a flare. It was not. It was a scream of light, a false sunrise. Truck 23's hood bloomed like a black flower. The concussion shoved every bone back inside its owner. Contact front, someone shouted. Then static ate the sentence. Sarah's first thought was not fear. It was inventory. Who? Where? How many? She gave the signal she had prayed she wouldn't need. Palms down. Drop. The convoy bled speed in a neat line. Brakes whispered. Dust froze. She could not hear the radio. She could hear Hart's Truck 23 listed, then steadied. The flare had been off to the side. A lure. Her teeth clicked once. Eyes to lateral, she breathed. Park in the gun truck behind mirrored the command with a hand cut through the air. They scanned the ditch. Saw the shape, not a person. A camera on a stick dressed in duct tape and malice. Someone's filming us? A specialist whispered. A light blinked on the pole. Then off, then on again. 3 beats. A code she didn't know. She knew enough to hate it. Back us out, she mouthed. Light signals flowed down the line. White, red, white. Trucks breathed in reverse. The culvert sighed. Earth shifted. Something under the gravel clicked like a jaw. She tasted metal. She swallowed fear like a dry pill. They eased back 50 yards. The ditch didn't erupt. The road didn't split. But something shifted inside the convoy. Trust got bigger. Parade ground laughter got smaller. They waited under a sky that did not care. Sarah stepped to the shoulder. Knee down, gloved hand into gravel. She felt wiring, old new splices. A hurried job. Not a kid's prank. Park crouched beside her. Improvised. And practiced, Sarah said. She held up a bit of cut jacket. The color code was wrong. Wrong like a lie. They eased around the sink, tires ghosting the edge. They got home without another flash. They rolled into the motor pool quiet as thieves who'd decided to return what they took. The colonel was waiting. His eyes were not worried. They were annoyed. You deviated, he said. We didn't die, she said. He glanced at the visitor's balcony. 3 suits watched from shadow. He measured his words like powder. You embarrassed this command, Captain. She smelled the thing again. Not oil, not coolant. The same not good scent from Truck 23. It clung to the colonel's boots. No, to the floor. To the bay. She filed the thought. She did not let it show on her face. He stepped closer. Next time, you follow orders before you follow your instincts. My orders include bringing them home, she said, nodding at the convoy as it parked. Their faces were a row of moons. Even in green light, she saw a thing you can't fake. Belief. The colonel's smile was neat. You're relieved pending review. Park started to argue. Sarah touched her arm. Don't. Park shut her mouth so hard the hinge squeaked. The MPs took Sarah's badge. They stopped just short of cuffs. That was supposed to be kindness. It didn't feel kind. Her empty wallet sat on her desk like an open mouth. Her watch read 12:07, the twitch a metronome for everything that had been wrong for months. They put her in a room with a camera that pretended not to be there, a table that pretended to be a table and not a scale. Hours did push-ups. No one came. Then someone did. Private Zeke Rojas, the bus kid, eyes still too young for this many edges. He stood in the doorway like the hall had pushed him. Ma'am, he said, you paid for me that day. He held up a small cloth bundle. My grandma fixes watches. Inside, the broken face winked. She laughed once. It sounded like a cough. Tell your grandma I'm not good at letting things go. I'm not either, he said. He glanced at the camera. Lowered his voice. Ma'am, I heard something in the motor pool. A guy talking about how the colonel hates surprises, and how tonight wouldn't be one. Her skin remembered Afghanistan for a second. It prickled. Who? She asked. He swallowed. Didn't see. Heard the voice. He said it has to go off or she'll never learn. She looked at the camera. She smiled like the wall was a friend. Thank you, Private. That's all. He took 2 steps, stopped. Ma'am, I saw a blue wire near Truck 23 this morning. Blue like the base phones. Why would a truck have a phone wire? He left before she could answer. She sat alone with that wire in her head. Blue. Base phones. Cameras. Blink codes. Her watch twitched. 12:07 click push. The door opened again. Colonel Drake walked in with 2 MPs who wore their uniforms like walls. He didn't sit. He didn't need to. "Captain Watson," he said, "you are confined to quarters pending further notice." "For what?" she asked. He smiled at the camera again. "Insubordination," he said, pronouncing every letter like it was a tooth he meant to keep. They walked her out past the night crew. She held her head steady so the young ones would see a line and not a fall. Outside her room, Park leaned on the rail. "Say the word," Park whispered. "I'll say the word when it matters," Sarah said. She shut the door. The room smelled like fear learning to sit still. She took the watch apart with a pocket tool. Tiny screws. Tiny faith that was when the lights went out. Not a flicker. A full drop. Power dead. Generators asleep. Jericho Base held its breath the way the convoy had. Then a siren started that was not for fire. It was for everything. Sarah stood. Her door lock clicked, not open. Closed. Someone had sealed it from the outside, and under the siren, faint, a new sound. Like a truck engine idling where no trucks should be. Dark. Then emergency lights poured red over the hallway like a held-back tide. Her window showed the motor pool, headlamps, 2, not 3. Park should have had 3. She put the watch back together by feel. She slipped it into her pocket. It clicked once like a throat clearing before a speech. Outside, footsteps. Inside, her mind pushed pins into a map no one could see. Blue wire, camera on a stick, culvert mousetrap. Now base blackout. That smell near 23, not oil, not coolant. Warm plastic, burned relay. She looked at her empty wallet. She opened it. There was a bus receipt and a photo of a road so dusty you could taste it. The picture had been taken the day she promised herself she would never leave another soldier at the side of one. She tore the bus receipt into a strip. She slid the strip under the door. Draft pulled it right. Airflow meant vent. She smiled with half her mouth. She took the mattress off the bed, pushed it upright against the door as if to rub the lock the wrong way. Then she went to the vent. 3 screws. Old steel. She had a toolkit because she always did. She always did because no one ever brings you what you need when you need it. Screw 1. Screw 2. Screw, footsteps again, MP boots. 2 sets, pause, move on. She slid into the vent. It was a crawl made of old tin and new swears. She reached a junction. Left smelled like the gym. Right smelled like cold oil. She went right. A grill opened above a stairwell. She peered down. Park waited at the bottom, alone. A shape that felt like the word unwavering. "You always were feral," Park whispered up, eyes finding the glint of the watch glass. "You always were patient," Sarah whispered back. They moved by echo, down then across. Into the motor pool's shadow. Truck 23 sat like a dog that had eaten tinfoil. The hood was cool, too cool. Someone had been here since the convoy. They popped the relay box. Blue jacket on a wire that did not belong. Park breathed out a curse so soft it was a prayer. Phones, Sarah said. Meaning someone used the base landline grid as a trigger path. Wired the truck like a desk. She traced the blue into a splice. New tape. Fresh bite marks on the copper. Hands that had worked fast. Hands that were not new at this. "Who has access?" Park asked. "Anyone who thinks rules are a fence," Sarah said. "That's a lot of people." A door slammed. MPs moved like sharks. Park shoved Sarah under the truck. Boots passed. Voices. One was the colonel. "It had iron filings in it. Secure the lot," he said. "I want no one in or out." Another voice, lower, drifted. "Sir, if we let her sniff, she'll find it." Sarah's skin learned a new temperature. She knew that voice. Major Kelton Hall. Operations. The colonel's shadow that made its own shadow. "Find what?" the colonel asked. Hall didn't answer. He didn't need to. The colonel didn't press. He didn't need to. When the boots faded, Park pulled Sarah out. "Now we run?" Park asked. Sarah shook her head. "Now we look. They checked 12 trucks. 11 were wrong. Not with bombs, with eyes. Tiny camera mounts tucked behind grills. Blink codes pre-programmed. A record of every mistake. Someone's filming us fail," Park said, fury finally uncaging in her whisper. "Or trying to make us fail on film," Sarah said. She followed the blue wire in 23 to an exit conduit. It ran into the maintenance office. Into a junction box with a stupid label. Janitorial. She opened it. Not mops. Switches. A cheap bank of toggles and a mess of phone line, all sorted by someone who loved neat lies. On the inside of the metal door, a sticky note. Fix timing. 0:10 off. She stared at the note. Timing. Like a cracked watch that always wanted to be 10 seconds wrong. Park put a finger on her shoulder. We take this upstairs. We take this public, Sarah said. Upstairs is where this came from. Park said nothing. It meant she agreed. They needed proof. They needed a witness who wasn't them. They needed the opposite of a rumor. Rojas, Sarah said. Find him. Park melted into the shadows. Sarah took her empty wallet and slid the bus receipt strip into it again. She held it for a second. A reminder. Fences can be gates if you push. A clatter behind her. She turned. Major Hall stood in the doorway to the maintenance office. He was alone. He didn't bother hiding the pistol at his hip. He didn't point it yet. He didn't need to yet, Captain, he said. You keep opening doors that aren't yours. Somebody wired a truck to a phone, she said. That door opens itself. He stepped closer. The lights cut shadows into his face like a topographic map. You embarrassed the colonel tonight. You think he will let you make this base look weak? He will break you before he bends. Then bend now and save us both the time, she said. Because fear had a place and it was not here. He moved fast. He cut distance with the walk of a man who had been inside bad rooms before. He reached past her and flipped a toggle on the panel. Far away something hummed. The hair on her arms lifted. What did you just arm? She asked. He smiled without sharing. Don't be dramatic. It's just a test. You don't test with explosives, she said. Who said anything about explosives? He asked. And that was how she knew he had. Rojas arrived in a rush of breath and panic. Saw the pistol. Froze like a streetlight had caught him. Hall turned his head at the sound. That was all the space Sarah needed. She slammed the panel door into his wrist. The pistol fell and barked once into the concrete. Echoes ran out into the bay like dogs off leashes. Sarah kicked the gun under a shelf. Rojas dove for it and didn't breathe until both hands were on it and the barrel was aimed at no one. Hall grabbed Sarah's sleeve. She twisted out, leaving a thread behind like a breadcrumb. Boots. All the boots. MPs. Colonel Drake. Every face that had ever bet on her to fail. Hall opened his mouth like he had a story ready. He didn't get to tell it because every truck in the bay woke up at once. Dash lights, relays. A chorus of mechanical throats clearing, and with them, from the far side of the fence, a rumble like weather. Engines. More than theirs. Coming closer. The colonel looked at Sarah. Finally, something that was almost worry in his eyes. What did you do, Captain? He asked. I didn't do this, she said. Your switch did. A siren started outside. Not theirs. Higher pitch. Wrong cadence, and under it a bark from the PA with a word she did not hear on bases unless the world had changed. Evacuate. When bases say evacuate, they don't mean it. They mean assemble and wait for permission to breathe. Not tonight. Troops moved like the drill had practiced them for years. That was new. Park snapped fingers into air and people understood the paragraphs the snaps contained. Sarah grabbed the PA mic in the bay. Static. Then her voice, big and calm. Kill battery on all vehicles. Pull main relays. No sparks, slow hands. You on the fence line with extinguishers. You eyes on the culvert. Nothing rolls through there. Colonel Drake stared at the junction box and the cheap toggles. He did math with his jaw. Rojas, white-knuckled, set the pistol on the desk like a hot pan. He met Sarah's eyes. I heard another thing, he said. They said timing to the inspection, sir, ma'am. Tomorrow, Sarah said. Whatever this is, it wanted an audience. Hall regained his breath and his angle. It's a power test. That's all. Backup grid. You're embarrassing yourselves. Park didn't wait for permission. She cuffed Hall with her eyes. To be safe, she said out loud to the colonel. He hesitated. He nodded. It was small. It was a continent. Sarah walked to the panel. She traced wires with 2 fingers. Sometimes fingers are better than tools. They listen without asking questions. Behind the bay, the fence glowed with the passing of engines on the road. Civilian? Contractor? The cadence was wrong. Everything was wrong. Sir, a young lieutenant called from the yard. The culvert's got new gravel, shiny, fresh. Sarah's stomach picked an answer before her brain caught up. A secondary. Our flare was rehearsal. The show was tomorrow. Unless tonight had already started the clock, she looked at her watch. 12:07. It twitched, and for the first time in 3 years, the minute hand dropped to 12:08. Time moved. The world did not, Park, she said. Get me a box driver and a wrecker now. Drake stepped in front of her. Stand down, Captain. We will await EOD. How long? She asked. 20 minutes, he said. He did not believe it. Neither did she. Sir, she said, and the sir was not a salute. If that culvert is wired, we either make distance or we make a crater. We can't do both by waiting. He held her eyes. He searched for bluff. He found a plan instead. He hated it. He stepped aside 1 inch. It was an earthquake. They rolled a flatbed out of its sleep. Park tossed her the keys. Driver you asked for, she said. Her joking voice would come back tomorrow. Sarah climbed into the cab. The seat had spring scars that bit. The wheel remembered other hands. She could feel men she'd never met telling her not to do this. She could feel the ones she had met telling her to hurry. Rojas scrambled up on the passenger step. Ma'am, you're on ground, she said. Hand signals. Red means stop means no matter what I think, you make me stop. Park set a bundle on Sarah's lap. A paper map. A flashlight. A packet of sugar. You'll need at least one of those. Sarah unfolded the map. Dust fell out like memory. She traced the road that wasn't paved. The line ran past the culvert and into the part of the base where buildings had numbers for names. She drove.